everybody. I'm Steve Gilligan, and this is Ewieprecht, and we are here at our San Diego Summer Intensive for generative change work, and Eva's one of on the teaching staff here. And Eva, one of the things that you've been doing, one of the workshops you've been teaching here was about your sort of new generation version of satir work. And there was such a fantastic appreciation of it.
Thank you.
And one of the things that you were teaching, one of the methods that you've been developing is something called the stance dance. So I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about what that process is of the stance dance.
Yeah. Well, it goes as a stance dance. Sometimes I also call it the stress stance dance because it really originates in what actually a lot of people know when you ask about satir. Most people refer to the communication stances, and so it's the basis. Using the classic communication stances that were trained by Virginia Satir as an awareness tool for what gets triggered in stress. What does get triggered when I feel I have a need of survival? So like this would be blamer, there's something wrong about you, or this is like the placater, there's something wrong about me, I discount myself, or the classic computer, or just distracting from whatever. And I was always intrigued, as my background is so much from dance, how can I use those sculptures that are more still and maybe add something as with the awareness tool to link it to something so it could become actually an intervention, something to work with.
Oh.
And so what I've been doing was basically inspired by your work, as you working so much with archetypal energies, also inspired by my other teacher, Dr. Gunther Schmidt, who is a friend of yours and colleague.
Yeah.
And he does something that he calls the Tai Chi gymnastic, or something like that.
Right. So when you say archetypal energies, in other words, is sort of the universal human energies or patterns. And so I guess you would describe Virginia's 4 positions: the blamer, placater, super reasonable, irrelevant,
Distractor.
as sort of the universals, and that these activate when people are in stress.
Yes.
And one of the things that we work with in all the generative change and really all the Ericksonian work is this notion that these universal patterns can either be negative or they can be positive, the same structure.
Right.
So when you put them into this stance dance, is that a way of trying to help people find the resource in it or the freedom in it?
That's exactly what my intention was. I thought, great. So I learn about blame. I know I do it. So that puts me in position.
We learn Aikido in here too.
That's right. So get out of the way. And so I thought, that's nice. I know that is happening. It's unhelpful. But I also know from neuroscience, this will be in play all the time because I've learned it many times myself, but it has been in my system before and then before. So that has been my free way of using, things when I'm in stress. I want to utilize that. I want to use the movement that comes with it as an entrance point to do something more helpful. So I thought, well, this actually leads me to, in my version, I would, go to position maybe something more like this, which could be the peaceful warrior. So there's something I want to get a sense of direction, a sense of this is where I want to go, but I want to add my center, my fluidity, my breath, my movement, and coaching my coachees. So what is the first change point? What is the first thing I need to do? For me, it's shoulder, it's breath, it's settling into my hips. That will allow me to change here. And then basically teach them, can we make it a fluid dance?
Oh, that's
so that
great.
it can become something different.
I'm curious. That sounds great. And I trained with Virginia some for a couple of years back in the 70s. And I've always thought about that, particularly from the Ericksonian point of view, how could a problem be a resource? And so it sounds like a really nice one to help people who are connecting to these problem patterns find about how to change them into resources.
Right. I mean, it's also reflecting my history. Even though I come so much from dance and movement background, I notice in myself when I use my body as a vehicle for exploration, for change, there are sometimes places where I would stop. So that's an edge I reach. And then I stop breathing, I stop moving, and I kind of find myself in this box of old patterns, of old filters.
So when we lock, we're really locking into a lot of our old negative patterns.
Right.
And if we flow,
right,
we're opening new possibilities.
So I learned in me, especially when you, for example, teaching the Celtic cross, I found myself a lot of times I'm opening and there's all of a sudden this block, I can't go further. And then there was at one point a curiosity, if I breathe consciously, if I allow to extend the energy to move, I actually, through my movement, can go beyond a probably conditioned learned pattern that I hit there. And I just know through movement, through using the body in new, unexpected, curious ways beyond the edges I've explored before, I will actually touch very quickly new pathways for possibilities, and it will also activate then, maybe later, different ways of communicating, different ways of acting and speaking. So it's not just...
So, just curious, so I could see, obvious applications in therapy and coaching and one-on-one work and doing relationship work, working with families. Do you also use this in your work in a business coaching context?
Yeah, I actually do. It's been quite a path because I work in a very, let's say, German conservative setting, very conservative field. So having people stand up and act out certain things and let them role play and move through different things has been a path to really introduce it. And I feel it took me my own filter of, is that okay to introduce it, to let that go away, and really have the freedom to say, hey, we're going to do something really interesting. You're going to learn something maybe a little strange, but let's take this on, because they're universal pattern you will find with your coworkers, with your boss, with whoever you engage with, and let's make that more interesting, and let's just learn on a very new path. And I've been introducing this a lot in businesses, and I found my trainings to be more active and more playful, more interesting. The feedback show too, so it's definitely a journey.
Well, that's great. Curious, when did you start developing this stance stuff?
Well, the beginning point was really about 5 years ago, and it's been continuously developing. The beginning point was really when we have these stances that, or you call them somatic modeling. So when I have a somatic model, when I have a sculpture, it could go by many names, but when I have a certain expression, and that's still, that was my curiosity, can we show a flip side that's a resource stance? So not just get stuck in the problem, but what's the resource stance? And then when we link them, can we teeter-totter and fluidly connect them so that they can become sisters, brothers, twins, however you want to call them.
So Virginia would call them the stances.
She calls them the stances, communication stances.
Ewieprecht brings in her soul connection to dance.
To dance, that's right.
To sort of make the stance dance.
Bring the fluidity. And there's another inspirational seed which was alongside your workshops as an integrational part at the end of the day, or in other settings. I started to translate a long time ago, that's probably 5 years plus too, right? Where I started to translate the change process as a movement, as a dance application, and then the stances. So I have taken all the different various pieces from Virginia as a way of, rather than doing them in a triad experience, let's just move them without words. Let's just take them on fluid and have the body express them, and then process after. So I've been using dance, movement, therapeutically as a vehicle for understanding, for change, for facilitating the work. And that's been a while, and it's been shown in different countries so far.
Great. So, I mean, you're talking about how my work in generative change has influenced it, and Günther Schmidt. I think you're being far too modest, because I've seen you teach, and really have to say that what you're doing is its own unique version, and bringing some of these different modalities and bringing them in an integrated way, in a way that's unique to you. So I really speak very highly of this work. I support it deeply, and if people want to find out more, they can go to
my institute website. It's www.virginiasatir.de for Germany, and that represents
www.satireinstitute.de for Deutschland.
No, virginiasatir.de.
Virginia Satir.
.de. That's very simple.
That's virginiasatir.de. So I hope you check out this work, because I have Eva as part of the teaching team, because I think it's really helpful, important, groundbreaking stuff. So I wish you the best in bringing this to the world.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thanks for the talk.